But the people doing entrepreneurship, doing startup, not everybody is seeking the same goal. It's like say, hey, build a giant company or build a 10 billion users kind of product. Focus on instant value you define. For example, like say, hey, I think I built this product can help some specific group of people, help make them life easier, or I want to build this because I think I just love it. I mean, these are all like valid values. I mean, you define, but you got to enjoy the process. Like you got to recognize the value you eventually deliver. If you believe that, then do it. My name is Shawn Cao. I'm the founder and the CEO of Columns.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Like 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the backhand.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
The company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve. I was proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Shawn Cao created the Canva for data, so you can get from data to story in 5 minutes. This episode is supported by Terso. Terso is the open source edge database from the creators of libSQL. Do you put your edge computing close to your users? You should put your data there too. Terso makes this easy utilizing the developer experience of SQLite. Access a free starter plan at terso.tech/codestory. Terso, welcome to the data edge. This episode is brought to you by our friends at MemberStack. MemberStack is the fastest way for you to launch a beautiful Webflow MVP with robust authentication and smooth payments integration. Join companies like Slack and American Airlines in serving millions of members every single day. Get started for free by visiting memberstack.com/codestory. Shawn Cao lives in Kirkland, just outside of Seattle. He immigrated to the U.S. and is married with 4 kids. He loves to hike and play soccer with his children, and even though Seattle can be rainy and cloudy for half the year, he admits that the summers are fantastic for being outside. He also admits he stops by Starbucks occasionally, but couldn't confirm if it tastes better at the home store in Seattle. Shawn noticed through his time at larger companies like Pinterest and Microsoft that the path to get data insights and analytics leans heavily on engineering, and it takes a long time. He thought there must be a way to make an easy, quick tool to enable people outside of engineering to do this themselves. So he built the Canva for data. This is the creation story of Columns.
Columns is a data storytelling platform. So data storytelling basically including a few different steps, how to help people to turn in from raw data to insights. And the storytelling part is more about how to make your insights ready to presentation, right? So you want to present in your data in an insightful, beautiful way to your audience. So what Columns does is Columns is trying to streamline the whole process for you so you can get the most of it from your data. That's what Columns does. In my last, I would say 18 years career, I've been working for big companies like Microsoft, Facebook, and Pinterest. During the time I was being with those companies, I have built in a lot of data products, big data, database, data warehouse, data processing. Almost everything is related to data. So there's no doubt I start something that is related to data. One of the things I observed when people using the data, get some conclusion or metrics or whatever you want to get from it. It needs a long process. People need pipelines, need, hiring, BI people. They rely on the technical people to do those type of things. Think about them, a lot of people, managers, directors, presidents, they want to consume data in very often to understand how the business goes. But think about if they can just do this everything by himself with a little help or no help from technical people, that would be very amazing. Today, you know what? There's a lot of mature tools such as Snowflake, convenient data warehouse, like dbt as data modeling. What about if we push all the modeling into the stack itself, but the managers, what they want to do, or product manager, right? Product managers, people managers, whatever, they want insights. They just get one data connection. The connection could be a SQL query, could be data files, could be a service, whatever, defined by somebody. And they put the catalogs there, and the managers just like connect. And right away, they can get everything interesting to the manager, such as like, we can use the AI to discover interesting insights from your data. Generate presentation ready slides, let's say. And based on that, you can, easily to also leverage the design tools, automation tools, and, the AI tools to how to beautify your design and make it ready for you to present in your story. So this is the whole thinking when I started. I really believed in today's, the world, the technology world. There's many businesses. It's not just like big companies, who has the power to build a lot of technologies, but also those type of people. They have data. They want to turn the data into presentation, into a story. So this is the problems I was thinking. Given my technical background, I just studied.
Tell me about the MVP. Let's dive into the MVP. How long did it take you to build that first version of the product? How long did it take you to build, and what sort of tools did you use to bring it to life?
So I started an open source project. It's called Nebular. It's trying to connect any type of data source, small data like spreadsheets, data files, CSV files, or, HTTP service, big data like, database connections, Snowflake connections, and they can turn them into an in-memory distributed analytics engine. Usually people call it OLAP, right? Analytics. And I deployed this in Google Cloud as a computing cluster. And on top of that, we're thinking about what the experiences look like. We need to build in the UI, build in the API stack. So in that case, we chose Node.js plus React. We're using React to build the UI. We're using Node.js as the API server. And then we dedicated all the computing to the open source project I mentioned, Nebular, to do all the computing for the super fast computing, because everything is distributed in memory when the user's session is on, or when the scheduled job is on.
So then let's stay on the MVP for a minute, Shawn. Tell me about some of the decisions and trade-offs you had to make when building that MVP. You're kind of alluding to some of the high level, but maybe dive into one or two that were really important to make when building that first product. And I'm curious about how you coped with those decisions.
Very early when we're building the prototype, everything needs to be decided. What do the experiences look like? What is the minimum workflow for users to operate? And what is the basic connectors we want to make it available, right? These are all very concrete questions. To answer these questions, we did some of the investigation. It's mostly just trying to understand who are the target audience as we first launch, or we, get some beta testers, who they are. And also another factor is we want to start with simple. We don't want to be overcomplicated things. So with all these type of thinkings in mind, I think we chose to work on Google Spreadsheets as the main data source at the beginning. The reason we chose that is because it's live connections, and people will feel, the tool is really in sync with my data. When I make changes on my data, I don't need to make any changes, and the story I made can be automatically updated. So that's something we want. So we chose Google Spreadsheets as live connections as the first step. And also Google Spreadsheets usually means it won't have massive data. It won't have gigabytes of data, for you to process. Or target audiences. It's not big companies, even though I coming from big companies, but we really want to using technology to help more and more small business, SMB kind of market. Even though it's not comprehensive, we don't know if we think it's right, but just talking to a few different people and just trying to figure out, make a very quick decision. This is the minimum data connections we're going to support. And then for the user flow, what is the basic user flow? We want users to be automatically connect and automatically identify the schema of the data, do some transformations, and all database is all time series based. We are very good at time series data, by the way. So we want to make sure the data we connected can be very quickly to be identified, the schema of it. So those some minimum requirements we started to define. For storytelling part, we really don't want to just start builders. We really want to say, hey, anything presented, anything generated is going to be showing on the canvas. And the canvas should be just like Figma, or you can call it Canva. Is free editing. It's free editing, and we want the users to have 100% flexibility. Say, hey, this is the final presentations. I want to change it. I want to edit whatever I want.
This episode is encrypted by CipherStash. Data breaches are becoming a fact of life. Know why? One of the reasons is because developers lack the right tooling to get the job done, i.e. encryption at rest tools are complex and inadequate. The solution? Encryption in use with CipherStash. CipherStash uses searchable encryption in use technology, providing continuous and universal protection for sensitive data. With CipherStash, you can turn your existing database into a vault, utilizing zero trust key management, SQL native, and with no code. Though encryption is complicated, CipherStash is easy to use. The tool fully supports SQL via a drop-in driver replacement, supporting the query types you know and love today. And did we mention it's fast? For queries over 100 million records, you can expect additional overhead of less than 1 millisecond. It's a no-brainer. Get started by reviewing their docs or downloading sample projects in Rails or Node plus Sequelize today. Visit cypherstash.com/codestory and get started protecting your data. This episode is supported by Treble. This day and age, APIs are a fact of life. And as such, product and engineering teams need tooling that is lightweight, real-time, and data-rich to help them ship and maintain APIs faster. That's where Treble comes in. Treble is an all-in-one platform for the entire API lifecycle. The product offers world-class monitoring and observability, providing more than 40 data points for each request, enabling you to understand everything from performance to user behavior. Dashboards help connecting your entire team for lifecycle collaboration. Documentation is automatically generated, saving massive amounts of time for your development team with every new release. And setting up Treble? Super easy and fast. In 3 simple steps, you can be up and running with their platform. Their pricing is designed to support API teams of all sizes. So get started with Treble today and automate your API ops. Did I mention they have a free forever plan? Find out more by visiting treble.com/codestory. That's TRBLLE.com/codestory. Okay, so then from that point, you've got your MVP, it's working. How did you progress the product from there and mature it? And I think to wrap that in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how did you build your roadmap? How did you go about deciding, okay, now this is the next most important thing to build or to address with columns?
I have a lot more and more confidence in building roadmap right now compared to, let's say, 6 months ago. The reason I say that at the beginning is really kind of like blinding. You don't really know what is more important than the other thing. If you look at it 1 year ago, what the product looks like is actually very different than what we're seeing today. I mentioned this is because I think we are taking quite a long time, probably about 6 months. We're trying to figure out what kind of things we want to leave, we want to keep in the product, and what kind of things we need to remove. So the first workflow we built is about data connection, story generation, story design, and then publish. So this workflow. So how do we identify the issues? It's basically the MVP is out. We invite some people to test it out. Customers, they give you feedback. They send you a message, an email, or just chatting with you. Hey, I like the concept, but you know what? I really don't know how to finish the whole journey, the whole process. You define the process, but it's too complicated for me. They just say, hey, I think the product is doing A, B, C, or X, Y, Z. It's probably just it comes to 1 or 2 points, When we design the workflow, I think there's too many elements in that. So this is what I'm saying. We actually caught in a lot of things as we are building our roadmap. This is a journey, I think. It's interactions with users, interaction with customers, and really understand what is important and what is not important. Even though there's a lot of things, we at the beginning, I think it's very important, but actually it turns out it may not be that important. Maybe it's just at early stage, roadmap is mostly public today. I mean, we actively ask users to submit requests, and we comment and discussion, those kind of requests, and how can they align with our long-term vision? Like, we eventually want to be a super convenient tool for data storytelling. Like, we call it, hey, your co-pilot for data storytelling. But what it really means is down to a lot of specific features that is related to user. So I would say we take like 2 factors in roadmap building. First, taking all the feedback, compile them together, and the next step is trying to align them with what our long-term vision is, and then refine that, and make the plan out of it as our next step for the development.
Okay, this one will be interesting, Shawn, because I believe your team is 2 people right now. Is that correct?
You're correct. Yes. It's very, very small. Yeah.
Very, very small team, which is awesome and super nimble. But I'm curious about how you'll go about building that team or expanding that team, or even how you chose your current team member. What do you look for in people to indicate that they are the winning horses to join you?
To build a successful product, you need at least 2 things. One thing is big market. The second thing is have a solid team to do that, to execute on that. So when I think about a team, of course, a lot of times we are constrained by the resource, by the timing. We need to materialize, a lot of things, get them to be verified before we expand in, the team even. Talking about team, I think most important thing is we know the person. Especially in the early stage, I think we know the person and we have very trusted relationship. You have way less communication cost. A lot of times you line together on the plan. And also, second thing I think is find the person who is good at different things, than you. For example, I really enjoy my conversation with my teammate. Most of the time, it's thinking about a user's perspective and from product perspective or business product perspective, rather than technical perspective. These 2 kind of like thinking way actually makes things really, really good. Is we always find this is some areas I didn't think of, and this how to improve a feature or how to cut a feature and how to remove something from the product. Those type of things actually is just a completely different angle. And it's very, very clear that, for one person, for example, like yourself, it's very difficult to find a different angle sometimes, yeah.
This episode was automatically optimized by Cast. If you run cloud-native software on AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure, you know how out of hand the bill can get. This uncertainty hurts your business, but you can solve it with Cast AI. Cast AI automates cloud cost, performance, and security management for hundreds of companies of all sizes. The platform's customers begin saving immediately and cut an average of over 60%. So before you go and sign a multi-year contract with a cloud provider or lay people off, check out what Cast AI can do for you. To get you saving even faster, Cast AI is offering a free cloud cost audit with a personal consultation. Visit cast.ai/codestory to get started. This episode is supported by Terso. Terso is the open source edge database from the creators of libSQL, the popular fork of SQLite. If you put your edge computing close to your users, like with Netlify or Vercel edge functions or Cloudflare workers, you should put your data there too, in order to maximize performance gains at the edge. Terso makes it easy. With a developer experience of SQLite and a distributed database you can replicate much closer to your users than traditional database offerings in the cloud. Terso's lightweight, easy to use, and free to get started. The team at Terso is offering a generous starter plan specifically for CodeStory listeners. Head over to terso.tech/CodeStory and get started today. That's TURSO.tech/CodeStory. Terso. Welcome to the Data Edge. Let's flip to scalability. This would be interesting given all of your experience in the past and how you approached this problem from day one. But did you build this to scale efficiently from the very beginning, or are you finding this as you grow in any sort of capacity?
I think this one is really related to the founder's mindset. Like you said, if you look at my background, it's a lot of infrastructure work. And one of the most important things for the infrastructure is the scale efficiency, right? So I have done lots of scalability and efficiency work in my past. When I started Columns, I started to use the open source project I mentioned, Nebula. It's already scalable. When I started to architect the whole thing for Columns itself, I also put that in mind. I say, hey, what about more than what we handle right now? For example, like say, hey, we have prepared these features for 3 users, 10 users. What about 100 users? How can we refactor the code structures better to handle more volume? These kind of questions like hit again and again. I don't think, we want to spend too much time to just like a scale for non-traffic. It's very, very challenging to, to having this kind of mindset. But at the same time, we also want to find the balance point. Do we really want to implement the scalability, or we just want to design this interface better so in the future we can extend it? I would say like most of the time it's the second point. Is basically say, hey, we have scalability and efficiency in mind, but doesn't really mean we go to implement everything and handle all the scenarios.
Okay, so as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built with Columns. What are you most proud of?
One thing I feel very proud of is we didn't leave the early visions we set and the motivations, the missions we set up when we started product. It's basically how to help massive users, non-technical people, max out of their data. As we believe more and more people and more business, we're going to have a lot of data to consume to help them to make business decisions for their business. So this kind of like vision and missions, since day one we set it up, we still firmly believe that. I think this is something I feel very proud of. It's no matter today we are talking about a lot of AI technology, like say how to using the AI to enhance insights discovery from your data, and also to help you automatically do design, because a lot of people they don't want to learn the settings, how to make it beautiful. How can we automatically figure out the settings, figure out the configurations, color scene palettes, generate a summary of your data for your data visualizations? How can we compile multiple things together into a presentation? Even though today we're talking about a lot of new things, but the main theme, the main thread, we will still stick to. It's basically how can we help people to do the better data storytelling. I think that's something I feel really proud of. Yeah.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
There's a lot of mistakes we made. One is about the product build. 1 year ago, when we started building Columns, we didn't have clear thought, I'll say clear mind about what is the most important features we want to leave on the product. So we end up with building a few different things. One thing is we expanding a lot of connections. We support, Databricks, Snowflake, and some other database. And also we working on the feature about note-taking, like notebook experience, compile multiple, the data stories in one note, something like that. We also build something which we think at the moment we think it's useful. For example, Slack integration to help people to easily to share data story in the Slack channel with their colleagues, and also access or build data stories just right from Slack itself. Those type of things we spend a lot of effort, and the result actually is not good. The mistake is basically saying, hey, we're trying to give a lot of access point for people. But essentially when people comes to the data storytelling, the core part, right? How can we design a beautiful data story from a data with a little effort? Just these simple core questions. We didn't focus enough. The result is people find it interesting to have, so many different ways to access your product, but eventually when they really want to deliver something, they're not satisfied. At this moment, we have to make sure the new users who are not familiar with your concept, who are familiar with your product, they come here, they just take 10 seconds, they understand what to do, and they can get some value out of it. I think that's something now we're really, really obsessed with.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. This will be fun. What's the future look like for Columns, the product, and for your eventual expansion of the team?
We have finished the original vision about what the product end-to-end workflow look like. But we know this is not enough. So actually, recently I started to writing document and thinking about Columns 2.0. I don't know if you ever saw the demos from Microsoft Excel. Recently, they released some feature, they call it Copilot, and they basically just, implement this concept in almost all their products. So the concept about Copilot is basically how to make the assistant more accessible and more helpful, powered by AI technology. All of us, believe that, AI is actually comes to a mature point where it can be really, really integrated with a lot of applications and make it a true impact of the user experience. So the demo from Microsoft for the Excel is basically you can have a conversation at the sidebar in the Excel, and you can keep asking, hey, what kind of insights I can, analyze from this data, and can you put a chart somewhere? But my thinking, it's starting from there. It's thinking about, hey, why we build Columns? We want to make sharing presentations much, much easier than Excel, because Excel, it's so hard to manage, like mingle graphs together with, the raw data itself. It's so hard to share them. Columns 2.0 should be something called, like I mentioned this earlier actually, be truly your co-pilot for data storytelling. It's like democratized experiences we borrowed from Excel Copilot, but working for any data. As long as something we can connect, we should be able to let users to enjoy these Copilot experiences. Say, hey, what are the insights living in my data?
Shawn, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
I usually don't take any individual person as as a copy or example. That's lots of thought leaders, like I say, inspired me. I usually look at the product. Usually, a great product actually has reflect the traits of the people behind it. I don't think I can give you a name, to who the most. There's so many great people, to building the great products. For example, like something just right now hit me. Read a story about the email product, the superhuman email product. The founder mentioned that they build the infrastructure first and then the scale to find the product market fit. That's completely new, very, very interesting mindset, It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Every product has different paths to go to to get its final destiny. But I mentioned this is just because I think it's different. It's just because it's different, and people, a lot of thought leaders, they taking different approach, and they're thinking differently, and that is the most interesting thing that inspired me, and also it always make me reflect myself.
Okay, Shawn, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person having gone down this road a bit?
I would say, hey, young friend, focus on the value you think you can bring to the world. The value is not defined by the world, but it truly is defined by you. Of course, I want the value you defined actually is positive, for the society. But the people doing entrepreneurship, doing startup, not everybody is seeking the same goal. It's like say, hey, build a giant company or build a 10 billion users kind of product. Focus on instant value you define. For example, like say, hey, I think I built this product can help some specific group of people, help make them life easier, or I want to build this because I think I just love it. These are all like valid values, you define, but you got to enjoy the process. Like you got to recognize the value you eventually deliver. If you believe that, then do it.
That's fantastic advice. Well, Shawn, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Columns.
Thank you so much, Noah. I really enjoyed the conversation with you.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ12. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ12 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.